at Sandown on the warm-up lap for race 2, round 6 in the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. Let's have a look at the track, Alex Davison. 3.1 kilometres, and you need a good engine. Have a look at all of those straight sections.
Definitely need some good power here, but you need to be able to get your power to the ground. So turn 4 exit is very important. You need to be nice and brave over turn 6. Down into Dandenong Road's a great overtaking move for the brave guys.
Otherwise, turn 1, the only other real opportunity?
Maybe if you get, again, if you've got very good power down, you can get onto that main straight well. You've got a chance there.
Let's have a look at the grid. Taz Douglas from pole, of course. The top 10 have been reversed for this race, and he had an RPM sensor drama in race 1. Any other race he would have pulled out, but he knew that there was a pole position on the line, so he stayed in the race.
Yeah, it's the one time you'd be happy to get 10th place, I think.
Scott McLaughlin with Tim Blanchard. Of course, the race 1 winner, Steve Owen, goes back to 10th on the grid. Down the back, Nick Percat had an electrical gremlin in the first race that sidelined him, and a misfire for Marcus Sukanovic. He will start down the back. Amber Anderson makes her debut in the Roadwise Commodore, normally driven by Phil Foster. So green flag at the back. Taz Douglas on the front row with Drew Russell, Rodney Jane and Jeff Emery in the Greg Murphy Racing VE on the second row of the grid. Watch for Owen, watch for Perkins, watch for Moffat coming through from deep in the pack. McLaughlin slow away in the Fujitsu Falcon. That's been a real weakness for the rookie this year. And around the outside, Jeff Emery gets a bit of a touch from Drew Russell.
Not the start Emery wanted, because he was, in a really good spot there, but they're battling on. You see the cars launching on 2 wheels over the first chicane here.
Jeff Emery pops out the other side. David Russell out through the grass. Ryan Hansford does the same for the second race in a row. And now it's a case of sorting out a spot. You've got fast cars buried in the middle of the pack, in and around cars and drivers that aren't as experienced.
Dave Russell coming through the field. He's had a pretty good run on the first few corners there, but Jack having a look up the inside, and Scott's going to be hung out to dry on the outside there.
A little bit of damage to the rear of the Bob Jane T-Mart's Falcon of Rodney Jane, but it's Taz Douglas, the fast as Commodore and ex-Jack Daniels Racing Commodore, that leads the way.
He's doing a great job out in front. He's got probably, maybe a second or so on that first lap. He's got a bit of a buffer. Blanchard up the inside, great move. Not an easy spot to pass there because it's a very short braking distance.
He lost the clutch on lap 2 of the first race, so that made things a little bit more difficult. We jump aboard the Norton 360 Falcon with James Moffat.
James trying to get a slipstream off his former teammate from last year there, Rodney Jane. Probably feels like he's slipstreaming his old car, actually, because I think his car was in those colours last year.
Closing in, Taz Douglas has got away. This is a really volatile pack. Blanchard, the Sonic Falcon, young Drew Russell, the ESET antivirus Falcon. He and his younger brother Aaron have done a stunning job. Very small team based from Newcastle. And this car ended up on its side in the last round of Bathurst. So it's repaired, it's ready to run, and it's doing good things.
Yeah, Drew Russell's doing a great job holding Rodney Jane off there. Rodney's got a very good car, the ex-888 Falcon. So he's trying to push forward. You can see he's coming right up on Russell end of the back straight there, but also looking in the mirror trying to hold the fast guys back.
Drew's had plenty of problems this weekend. They haven't been able to get the shift cut on the gear lever working. So just give us a quick explanation. What is a shift cut?
The shift cut cuts the engine power for a split second and enables the load to come off the dog rings in the gearbox for just a split second, like 30 milliseconds, and that means you can hold your foot flat and just pull the gears without having to lift off. But with the sequential gearbox, it's a big problem. With the H-pattern box in the past, you could get around it. It didn't lose you much time. With the sequential box, it does cost you a lot of straight line speed. There's
no doubt that Rodney Jane's car is faster in a straight line than the ex-Brad Jones Racing Falcon. Jane makes a lunge at turn 1. Moffat and Perkins, they haven't been separated by too much more than a piece of string all weekend so far.
Yeah, those guys have swapped a bit of paint so far. Great move by Rodney Jane up the inside there.
And you've got to play it patient here because there's points on the line, but in the reverse grid race, it's actually a half points event. So that stops drivers from perhaps aiming at finishing 8th, 9th or 10th as they've done in the past to get pole for race 2.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys, it's a fine line. They've got to push hard to try and get through the pack, but obviously not push too hard and damage their car or get turned around or get caught up with one of the slower cars. Moffat makes another spot up over the top of the hill there. Very hairy bit of track. It's not the type of corner where you want to be going side by side.
And look at this pack. It's really bunched up. You've got Steve Owen there, Scott McLaughlin's there, Rodney Jane a little slow on the exit of Dandenong Road, and Moffat will go side by side. So 40 years ago, it was Alan and Bob. Today, it's James and Rodney.
Yeah, they probably were doing it on the same corners as these boys were bumping mirrors now. So great move by Moff around the outside there. That's a move you can do, but it's a little bit tricky. Contact down the straight. Jeez, that's a bit sketchy.
Have a look at Steve Owen too. The Earthex Commodore from Greg Murphy Racing is on its way up the order, down the inside now. Puts a move on Drew Russell.
Steve Owen, very experienced. He knows how to get through the traffic without risking his car, and he's proving that now. He'll just take his time. He doesn't need to risk anything. He'll pick the guys off when he can. He'll know he's behind a guy like Jack Perkins now, who has absolutely nothing to lose. So he's pushing. He doesn't have to think about points. He's just pushing as hard as he can to get the best result possible.
Easy to forget too that Taz Douglas leads this race. Tim Blanchard second. But have a look at the fight here. This is crazy stuff. Perkins is really pressuring Jane, who makes a mistake. Over the top of Dandenong Road. David Russell's through the grass. Perkins, though, down the inside. Gets the move done. Look for Steve Owen. He's coming too.
Very good move there. I was about to give Rodney a rap and say what a good job he's doing holding these guys back. Because remember, he's not a racing driver. He doesn't claim to be a racing driver. He's a businessman who's able to go racing on the weekends. And he does a brilliant job. He's 6th in the championship at the moment, but just lost a few spots. So I might have put the moz on him.
Taz Douglas leads the way. This is the view from the great grandstand here on the Brock Straight at Sandown. The reverse grid race always guarantees massive action in the Fujitsu series, and the extreme slow-mo has captured David Russell's work. He's pushing hard in 8th place. More from Sandown when we come back in a few moments. There's never a shortage of action in the Fujitsu V8 Supercars. Welcome back to Sandown. This is a replay of the start of race 2. Taz Douglas led us away. Jeff Emery, though, ended up wide at turn 1. Pretty busy in the mid-pack, but the Greg Murphy Racing Commodore just ran out of road.
Yeah, 3 wide. As I said before, 3 wide's very difficult, and they were 4 wide. Very busy in the mid-pack there.
Bit of contact, too, between Rodney Jane, David Russell, who took to the grass.
Busy up the front of the pack, too.
A little bit of damage to the Jayco car. This is on board with James Moffat from 8th on the grid. We go by the Fujitsu Falcon of Scott McLaughlin. Look in front. There's the red Commodore of Emery trying to get across. He might have got a bit of a tag there too.
Yeah, I think he got a bit of a tag from Russell, to be honest. Had all the front brakes locked up.
There's the contact from Russell with Rodney Jane, who had that car locked up as well. And this was a move that Scott McLaughlin, fresh back from his debut in the NZ V8 series at Pukekohe, launched a move on Drew Russell. But in the background, Aaron Russell, his younger brother, got unloaded by Matthew White.
That wasn't very polite at all by Matthew, but karma's got back to him and he's off the road at turn 1.
Bit of contact from Jeff Emery there. Here is our leader. This is a great story. Taz Douglas sat on the sidelines dealing with lymphoma, had plenty of chemo, recovery, came back at Townsville, had a personal best result, did the endurance races for Kelly Racing, and could win his first V8 race.
That's a great story, and he's 3.5 seconds out in front, so he can afford to relax very slightly and sort of just concentrate on bringing it home. But I mean, 3.5 seconds isn't that much. He needs to keep his eye on the ball and keep the lap times down.
Nick Percat there, the 222 Commodore for Bundaberg Red Racing, run from the Walkinshaw Racing Workshop in Melbourne.
Scotty McLaughlin, right? Oh no, he's got a drama with the right front there. Something's not right.
Yeah, that's not just a rubbing tyre.
No.
There's a massive, massive problem, and Drew Russell's keen to take advantage. The Fujitsu Ford, I wouldn't mind betting there's something in the suspension there, because clearly the tyre's not flat. So
something with looks like something with the right front damper. The car's dropped down, and you can see the car bouncing along like a basketball. So something with the right front suspension there. He's into the pits.
There are a couple of really high curbs here that a lot of the drivers have hit in practice and qualifying, particularly down at turn 2 and 3 and the like.
The curbs are brutal. Sandown's really like a street circuit, but it's a permanent racetrack. It's bumpy, the curbs are big, and it's very rough off the road.
Here's the fight between Moffat, Perkins and Steve Owen, of course, who did such a great job for Jamie Whincup for Team Vodafone at Phillip Island, at Bathurst and on the Gold Coast. So if Whincup gets home in the championship, I guess he gets a little bit of the trophy.
Yeah, he'll, the 888 boys are very appreciative of the great job he did at the Enduros there, but, I mean, that's in the past now. He's concentrating completely on the back of Jack Perkins' car. He's got his best tyres on for this race, and you can see he's got a lot of car speed, and he's just bottled up behind Jack Perkins, and he'll be very frustrated that he's not being able to make the most out of his car in this race.
Aaron Russell has come to pit lane from a mechanical black flag, had a loose rear bumper, and that was from contact from Matthew White, so that's a little bit of a shame. But Owen looking really pacey here. Jack Perkins is really trying just to hang on to 4th place. Looking back from Moffat's car, I mentioned earlier that Campbell Little is engineering this car. There's been a bit of a shuffle. Grant McPherson, James's regular engineer, is looking after Stephen Richards in the Champ Series this weekend, so a great opportunity for James to work with Campbell.
Campbell seems to win everywhere he goes, so I'm sure Moff's very happy to have Campbell in his corner engineering his car.
That was Blanchard just going through shot.
Now Steve Owen will really be concentrating on this point here, getting the power down smoothly, not getting unsettled over the curbs and getting a good run onto the back straight. But the PMM cars, like what Jack's in, are known to have very good horsepower, and you can see him stretching that gap on Steve Owen down the back straight. So that doesn't work well for Steve Owen, who's trying to get past him.
Owen's driving the car that Jason Barguana drove in Sprint Gas colours last year for Greg Murphy Racing. So effectively the old Tasman Motorsport has basically become Greg Murphy Racing. They've taken all of the elements, and it's become a very strong Fujitsu Series outfit.
Absolutely. They've done a fantastic job with that car this year, and you can see Steve Owen's really quick in the corners. He was right up the back of Jack Perkins at Dandenong Road.
Nick Percat got a little touch from Jeff Emery. Percat keeps it nailed. Todd Fiore's the unlucky victim of all of that.
Poor Fiore just had to stop and wait for it all to clear. He had nothing to do with it, but got penalised the most out of it.
And Percat, he's angry.
He's very angry. He's doing some drifting up the back straight there.
And look at all the dirt and debris that's pouring out of the front of this car.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You know when you've run off the road that when you hit the brakes, that dirt's going to come flying out the front. And Nick's sliding all over the place, but he's held onto it. Jesus, debris flying out the back everywhere.
Let's have a look again. Jeff Emery closing in across the top of Dandenong Road corner. And at that point of the corner, it doesn't take much of a touch. And it's only very slight, but it sends the man who was second in the championship facing in the wrong direction. More from Sandown in just a few moments. Welcome back to Sandown, the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series, and title leader Steve Owen has been getting a little bit loose in this pursuit of Jack Perkins. Our leader, Taz Douglas, made a minor mistake over the top of the S's, came out the other side, and still leads the way. He's trying to win his first ever race in the Fujitsu V8 Supercars. Double waved yellows here, turn 4, there must be a car right on the exit point here because they're warning the drivers, stay wide. That's not a good idea because Amber Anderson's parked there.
Definitely don't want to stay wide then, but she's had a bit of a lose. It's the worst place on the track to have a spin because it's very difficult to do a U-turn and keep going.
Here's the replay. Amber's making her V8 debut, and just a little rookie error. No harm, no foul. Doesn't hit the wall.
On the gas a little bit too early there for Amber.
Back to the front. Douglas leads. Blanchard second, but Moffat has caught his old car. This is the car that James drove last year, and Owen is getting really impatient with Jack Perkins. He's clearly faster, but he can't find a way by.
He's giving Jack a bit of a hurry up there. He's got a very good run onto the straight, right in the slipstream. He'll for sure be having a duck up the inside at turn 1, but Jack's got it covered.
So Owen goes the long way. Big move. It's hard to stay on the road here because it runs out, and he does. He's over the curb. He's out through the grass.
Oh,
Perkins is taking no funny business.
Jack didn't give him any space there. That was probably a little bit rude because Steve Owen did a great job, hung around the outside, was still up far enough that Jack should have given him some room, but Steve would have half been expecting to be squeezed off there, so it's no big deal.
Out wide, no damage to the front splitter, little bit of air, and he pushes on. Moffat zeroing in. It has been a really bad year. He's had all sorts of problems. They've had some bad luck. He's made a few mistakes. The team have made a few mistakes. And when you add it all together, it's only a 7-round championship. It's not like the championship series where there's 14 events and 26 races. It's a really compact calendar.
Yeah, no, it's very important not to have any DNFs, to bring points home in every round. And unfortunately for Moff, he hasn't been able to do that. He's had great speed from the first round. He's always one of the fastest cars, but hasn't quite put the year together like he would have hoped. Launching over the curbs, you can see the cars jump in the air. Those curbs are brutal. They feel horrible to drive over. You feel like you're destroying your car every lap you drive over those curbs, but you know you have to do it, so not nice at all. And the guys whose cars absorb those bumps well are the ones who are quick around Sandown.
Love this run. Down the back straight, over the crest of the hill.
Good FPR power there, getting a good slipstream off Tim. Not close enough to have a crack over the top of the hill, but he'll be looking down the Dandenong Road here. Not quite close enough though.
On the penultimate lap of race 2, and Tim Blanchard's car, run by your old team, the Sonic team. It's an ex-Craig Lowndes Team Vodafone chassis. It runs with KRE engines, so as a technical platform, certainly one that Triple Eight know very, very well.
Yeah, no, I mean, the first thing is Sonic and Mick Ritter do a fantastic job preparing whatever cars they're running, whether it's Formula Fords or Development Series, and they've got about the best equipment you can buy off the shelf, and that's Triple Eight gear.
Taz Douglas on his way home, 1 lap to go. I actually thought that Blanchard might reel him in because we've seen more pace from the Sirame Falcon this year. Taz has only done, this is just his second round of this season.
Yeah, no, fantastic job. And I mean, he's done exactly the right thing. He had a big gap, but he kept pushing. I mean, it's one thing that's easy to do when you're 3.5 seconds out in front is to back off and just take it easy. But he's kept his head down, as we saw over the top of the hill a couple of laps ago.
We've seen in the past when drivers get a win in the reverse grid race, they say, yeah, it's a race win. It goes in the stats book, but it's always got an asterisk next to it because it's a reverse grid race. I've got to tell you, a race win is a race win no matter what.
Race win's a race win, and he's earned this one. Here he is. One of the problems when you're out in front by 3.5 seconds is you don't get much coverage on the telecast, but he's done a brilliant job and deserves this win for sure.
He's a real privateer effort. He does a lot of the work himself.
Moff hasn't given up though. James going to be having a look up the inside here, but he thinks better of it. That was a smart move. That overtaking move was never going to happen. So he's going to settle for 3rd place here. Very mature decision there.
I tell you what is going to happen. Taz Douglas gets his first V8 supercar win in the Fujitsu series.
And Owen and Perkins across the line. I don't even know which one got that position. I think Perkins.
Yeah, Perkins just made it home. James Moffat home in 3rd place. That will book 3rd place on the grid for him for the final race. Taz Douglas, though, has been in the championship since 2007, the former Victorian Formula Ford state champion. That's a really great result. Jane in 6th from David Russell. Drew Russell 9th. Marcus Sukanovic, a great drive from the back of the grid. He rounds out the top 10.
Taz, what an amazing year for you. It's been a long time coming, this race win. Well done.
Yeah, it has been. From the start of the year, didn't think I'd be here, but it's good to get a win, even though it's reverse top 10. We still had good pace in practice and had some dramas in qualifying and the first race. So, hung in there in the first race to finish 10th with the engine drama. And then we knew we had a fair bit of pace, top 5. So thought if I could just keep it together then and get a good gap at the start and keep it, she'll be right.